And so the cross is the still point of the turning world. And the turning world is kind of representing the seasons, that the world is transient, that it changes, that it turns, but that there's a cross at the center. So there's like a principle that stays the same. The cross is the thing that is most deeply etched within the center of my personhood. And I can know that whether the wind blows and tide comes, that I still have Christ and that Christ has me.
Welcome to the Lay Life Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ferraro. Join us as we journey together to see the church come alive through real conversations with real people. Enjoy the episode. I am here with a good friend of mine, Mikey Murray. Mikey, maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Mikey Murray. I am a senior at Franciscan studying clinical psychology and philosophy.
And Mikey, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, a whole 20 seconds ago. But yeah, just a reality of understanding the grace of a current season. I think one thing that's been a lot of fun in our relationship, over the last 4 years is, for whatever reason, we always seem to be synced up and what we're going through in life. And I think we've had some really fruitful seasons, some very difficult, some filled with loss, some filled with a lot of success and abundant fruit. But I don't know, what do you feel like is one of those keys, when you enter into a new season and you feel kind of like the tides changing of understanding what's going on there so as to enter into right? Because if you don't understand it, you can't actually appropriately accept what it is.
I think a couple things. First thing, the first image that I get is when I studied Gaza, there's this image of Steve, and there's the world and the cross. And so the cross is the still point of the turning world. And the turning world is kind of representing the seasons, that the world is transient, that it changes, that it turns, but that there's a cross at the center. So there's like a principle that stays the same. And so amidst any sort of season, whether by season we mean kind of we mean sadness, we mean joy, we mean depression, we mean anxiety, we mean a bunch of different things. It's kind of the overwhelming sense of well-being that I feel at a specific time. I think the one thing that we can always hold firm to is that the cross will be the still. And like St. Augustine says, like God is more intimate to me than I am to myself. He's higher than my highest. The cross is the thing that is most deeply etched within the center of my personhood. And I can know that whether the wind blows and tide comes, that I still have Christ and that Christ has me. So that's the first principle is that Christ loves me and can be, and that no matter the season, he's guiding toward his eternity. And so I think that's the most important point to kind of take hold of this, the first principle for seasons, right?
Yeah. What do you think happens when you pull that away? And I just feel like the last few months, jumping from full-time work, I'm starting a magazine, figuring out how much I like that, how long I'm going to do that, sort of starting to jump into concentration. There feels like this whirlwind, which isn't something I necessarily haven't experienced before. I've experienced turbulence and the feeling of what's going on? What do I do? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like honestly, just being just transparent. I felt almost like a depravity of grace, the last 3 months of just a total absence. Where are you? It's one thing to suffer and know it's unto something, or oh, I'm doing it for the sake of this person or for this thing. Even if that's maybe removed, even in the immediate. But gosh, I feel like in the season it's that turmoil, that wrestling, that instability. What the frick am I doing with my life? And then there's also that depravity. What's wrong? And it's weird. I've never experienced it before. And I don't know if that's just been because there's always been some idea of stability, whether that just be through the structure of even the last 5 years here at Franciscan. Okay, I'm coming back next semester. I'm gonna have some classes, or I know friends are gonna be there, or I, know certain leadership opportunities, things I'm involved in. But there's this freeing realization, but also I would say it's crippling. I find it more exciting, but it's okay, I'm out of college. I'm out of this somewhat initial formation period of my life. And between now and when I die, there's not a right answer, which is exciting because it's I can put my name to, and that's awesome. There's a blank canvas, which I love, but But then there's also this sense of like, what am I tethered to? Like I'm going to lands that might not have been discovered yet. Right? It's like Abraham, go to a land I will show you. Like be a little bit more unfair, you know? It's like start walking, bro. I'll tell you it's dirt. But even there's like there's a tethering, there's a groundedness to like you've come from somewhere.
Sure.
So I don't know, what do we do like when that gets almost ruptured, or is it not actually ruptured? Maybe just our perception is something.
That's a good question. I think that the way in which I try to understand that question is by understanding my life as a story and understanding my life as a narrative. And so to first step back and ask yourself, what's the narrative that you tell yourself about your life? And then two, can the narrative that I tell myself about my life be more tethered to the reality that's actually occurring and what I believe about God and the persons around me? And then so you have to ask yourself that question. If you find like, and then one way to tell if your narrative is, let's say, binded to what's actually real is by bouncing your narrative to other people that you trust. It's like, here, listen, this is how I view my life. This is how I tell my story. This is how I see the actions that I've done in the past and where I see myself going in the future. Does this line up with who you see me to be? And obviously, let be a trusted friend, let be a spouse, whatever, etc. And then, so that's important. And then you establish those things. It's like, okay, if I see that, like, I get a lot of feedback that the narrative that I'm telling myself is not accurate, then I'm going to pick one thing out and try to retell the narrative. I'm going to recode, like I'm going to create a different cohesion for my life. So it's like a cognitive restructure. It's just a way to talk to yourself, really. Self-talk is very important. And then the second way, like for example, sports is a great example. If you're on the court and you miss a very, like you play, say, playing basketball, you miss a very simple shot. What are you saying to yourself after that? You're like, dude, come on. And that talk is a cyclical thing. So it's, you miss the shot, you do the talk, you're more likely to miss the next shot. You're more likely. So it's like, if I miss the shot, you just tell yourself, like, all right, I missed the shot, get back. If I say I missed the shot, oh, you're the worst, you're going to lose the game, you go into all this rabbit spiral. Yeah. That's not, it's just going to, it's a self-fulfilling loop. It's just going to make you miss the next shot. But that's why it's important. Same thing with spiritual life. It's like, I'm lost. I don't feel bonded or binded to anything real. I don't know what the future holds. It's like, okay, can we hold that reality, but also hold the fact of like, I exist. I'm held in being. I have friends around me who care about me. I know God is who he says he is. I know he's the Father, and that this might just be a season. So that's like important. And then I think the second thing is immerse yourself within the narrative, like the meta narrative structure of the Old and New Testament. Because it's within the scriptures that you will find everything that's occurring within your heart in a different character. So I'd say biblical narratives, and then also even like Marvel narratives. Like all this stuff is cosmic. It's a pattern structure. So like you'll find like the figure of the redeemer. You'll find the figure of the fool. You'll find like a satanic figure. You'll see it everywhere. And so to try to really identify and then change your narrative as like, I'm a human person in quest of a divine destiny. And that's what's going to guide me. And so the meaning in which, like, the aim determines kind of the story. It determines the means in which you get to that.
Yes.
And so if you have a low aim, you're going to have rocky means. But if you set your goal high, it's going to lay itself out. The world's going to lay itself out in this like patterned way.
What do you?
Yeah. So like, Sirach says, "Seek not that which is too high for thee." Right. So you have to take account. You have to have cognizance of the gifts that you possess and the ways in which you impact other people and yourself. Right. So if you could maybe make it like mathematical, it's like, say like I have like the giftedness of 5 and I have the potential to be to a 10. What's the best thing to do? Well, at this moment, I should probably lift my aim to a 7. And then I have to take account of it when I'm actually growing. Okay, I'm here at a 6. And then you keep setting your aim high. And as you set your aim higher, you're going to continue to grow into the person you can be. Whereas other people might have the cap range of like a 7, and they start at a 3, they need to set their aim to a 4. But don't set it lower than a 3 or stay at a 3, because that's complacency. But so always set your aim higher than what you can, because you can always be more than you can be. That's just the principle of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it's spelled out. But let Christ always be the measure and the thing that bonds you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Because, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I know. I heard this quote a while back and I really, really loved it. But it's, it talks about like accomplishing dreams or setting big goals. And it's like, okay, great, you have this end vision, this end product, this place where you want to be. And then, okay, you're back in reality, you're today, what the heck do you do? And one thing I really loved, it said, it happens little by little and then all at once.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a profound wisdom by that and I've experienced this like in even just like really small domains of like say you're learning a new skill. Like I this is so the most recent example I can remember that connects really well is like over this last year, like learning to do latte art. Right? Because there's like a couple things. It's like kind of tilt how you tilt the pitcher and like the skin one, how low or high it is under the milk. Then you have to, like the sound, like how much air you take in. And then there's like certain things with pouring, like how high you pour from, like how fast you pour, and kind of tilting the cup. And so like, I remember like learning this thing, I know all these things. I watched the video and I watched the video. It's sick. I want to do right that. So I do it and I'm like, okay, you get tilt, you get this. And then you remember two, and you're like, okay, I'm like pouring it too fast and pouring right hand. And you're like, oh, I'm not turning a cup. And now I'm just pouring coffee and hot milk over my hand. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, you're like, don't do that again. And then you're like, oh, I didn't pour fast enough this time. And if you kind of keep minor tweaking and you're like, you know what you should do. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like I didn't think about it. Like all just kind of came together. And it's like, this is the product we're trying to create. And it is really interesting. Like I think that is a principle to learning anything. Like the little by little and then all at once. But I know another thing I've been thinking of is like, especially as you develop skill and competence in any area, or you just become more aware of like, if I wanted to, I could accomplish X, Y, and Z. I think another question I've been asking myself, right? It's like just out of graduation, life ahead of me, I have these big dreams, I want to accomplish things for God. And more important, I want to do them with. I don't care really what I do. It's like I just want to know it's like this is what you have. Like that's what I want to be able to say at the end of the day. And I was like, oh, I can accomplish it. I don't know if it's a question of discernment. Maybe it is just that. But the question like if you can do things rather than if you should do. You know, I don't know. You even think that in the context of like money. Like I'm just like, in that world of like full time work and bills and wealth management. Those things. Like I don't know. I bet like if I wanted to, like, or if I devoted myself to the next 3 years of like learning e-commerce and like online shopping and building stores and selling products and making funnels, and I probably hate my life. We had a computer like 60 to 80 hours a week, but it's like I don't know, probably make several $1 million. And you like put that like in crypto or stocks or some other things and just live off making big enough dividends. And it's like, okay, so I would like trade 3 years of my life for maybe not having to work again, but like for what? And then there's also the question like, what if I die in a year and a half in? You know? And it's like this really strange question of like there is a call. And by necessity, it's like there's things we should do, obviously, yes, like the positive nature of that call. But by necessity, that means there's all these other wide range of options. Like no, like don't do that.
Yeah, that's right. I want to go back to a little bit earlier.
Great.
There's two concepts in psychology I think are important in regard to like doing things efficiently and fulfilling the potential that you have as a human person in accord with your gifts. And the first is by Lev Vygotsky. It's called zone of proximal development. Okay. And then this correlates with the second concept, which most people know by now, which is flow state.
Yes.
And flow state is basically when it's the through line of boredom and anxiety. So anxiety can be conceptualized as too much complexity for you to take in at once. So there's just too much that you haven't learned. There's too much that you can't navigate. So you get into a state of paralyzation. Think about the first time you play chess. And then there's boredom. Think about the 100th time you play chess with another person who's playing chess for the first time. You're going to be bored because you're just crushing them. But if you both play chess 50 times, you both can enter into this state where you're not bored, but you're not anxious, but you're in this proximal development zone. You're in this zone of flow. You're in this zone of kind of like what I would say is play.
Yeah.
Like you're in between both what's actual and what's potential. It's like a dance between the two things. So I just wanted to say that first. And we know when we get in those zones, and I think vocationally, we can actually gauge where God wants us to be. Because when we get into flow state, we actually experience positive emotion and we experience a lot of happiness, so an increasing well-being. And God wants us to be happy, and He gives us gifts, so we should lean into those if we're able to enter into those states. So I think that's an important thing. And then the second, what you were all just talking about, I think you're hitting on. You're hitting on the ought and the is, and then how to navigate your life and your story around what's at current and the horizon of possibility that you can embark upon, like the multiple paths that kind of call your name, right? And so you're hitting on the idea of vocation. I think in more like the religious sense in which we talk about it, but also in more the human sense of like a destiny or a calling or paying attention to things that kind of bring out your uniqueness in ways that other people will look at and be a little bit confused, right? So I think maybe a way to help understand it is by understanding kind of like anthropology, like anthropological structure of the person. And I think it's like, okay, the Catholic tradition tells us we have an intellect. The intellect is the thing that goes out toward what we see as true, what we deem as true. And then we use discursive reason if we don't know what's true to God, try to get to the conclusion, right? And then we have the will, which is the thing that seeks after objects under the aspect of good. So what the intellect does is it takes things into itself, it abstracts them, it forms concepts, but the will is informed by the intellect, and then it goes out toward those goods and it tries to acquire them. So it's a different movement, right? Intellect takes in, will goes out. So the thing is categorized under the good if you're going out to obtain it, and then the thing is categorized under the true when you're kind of absorbing it and abstracting it to your personhood, right? And then following that is desire. So you only like Aristotle and St. Thomas tell us everyone wants to be happy. Everyone seeks what is good for themselves. But people set their scopes on the wrong thing. Yeah. They kind of get immersed in finite things. Honor, power, fame, sex, drugs, these types of things that are finite goods, but nonetheless can't give us the infinite good. Yeah. And so we kind of set our lives there. And that's because of the nature of desire. What we do there is desire always follows what we deem to be good or true. So it follows the intellect and the will. It's kind of this weird part with the emotions. Like it's the seeking after the thing that we see as good. Yeah. Right? So I think a good thing to do is take a step back and ask yourself, not in a very neurotic way of over conceptualizing, overthinking what are my desires, because you'll never be able to do that. That's the whole other topic. Just kind of ask yourself, like, what are the things that I think are good? And what are the things, not just that I think are good, but what are the things that I'm doing right now that I find delight and pain? And then assess that. So it's like, okay, I go to the bars on Fridays and I have a lot of delight in that. And I drink a little bit too much every single time I go on Friday. And I wake up the next morning, I can't function at work. I can't be present to my friends. I can't be present to my girlfriend, whatever. Things like that. Ask yourself, okay, like, can you tailor and temper that desire? Like, what do you see as more important? I see being present to my girlfriend and my friends is more important than my short-term gratification of getting drunk. Why? It's because you value it. So desire follows values. It follows what you think is more valuable. So it's like there's this layered hierarchy that you can kind of delineate in yourself as to what you have at the highest place, what you have kind of more in the middle place, and then what you have at the lowest place. And ideally, what you should have is at the highest place, it should be to love God above all else and love thyself. So are you doing your prayer? Are you opening yourself up to kind of like the divine speech, the divine conversation? And then second, how are you treating yourself? How are you treating your neighbor? And so to try to ask yourself, like, do I have my life in order? Because Augustine, Aquinas, Plato, Aristotle, they all saw wisdom as putting everything in their proper place. Yeah. And God is the highest. So God should be in the highest place. Yes. So if all of my functions should be, I should reassess and ask myself, do I have these things in their proper place? So you can start working on that. Yeah. And then once you put your things in the proper place, you're going to have a greater access to your heart. And you're going to have a greater access to your desires. You're going to have a greater access to the mysterious, unique vocation you have that's kind of calling you. Like for me, I think it's very clear to me that like the intellectual pursuits, the counseling route is like something that is just branded onto my heart by God. And not everyone has to know that. I think a lot of people go through life saying, like, I don't know. I really just genuinely still don't know. I'm switching jobs at 30. I'm switching jobs at 40. But even then, it's to take contentment in the fact that you can still grow and you can still bless other people and you can still find happiness and God still loves you where you're at. You're not a mistake, right? Like you're not a mistake at all. Just because you don't have your life in order. That's like a total lie that I think we tell ourselves. If I don't have my life in order, if I don't feel interior like I should have all these desires, like I should be super connected to nature, reality, God, then I'm not right. That's a cognitive error, I think. It's a Christian cognitive error.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I am okay.
Yeah.
And this is a season that I'm passing through and God will bring me out. So it's like that it's like that injunction, that imperative of faith and trust. Is do you have the faith of a mustard seed? A mustard seed.
So
The smallest thing, but the important part is the mustard seed planted in the deepest soil of your heart? Because if your mustard seed is planted in the deepest soil of your heart, it doesn't matter the peripheral chaos of the heart because God is going to flower past that, right? So it's like if you can just continually wake up, very simple and pragmatic, 5 minutes a day. You wake up in your morning, maybe you struggle with anxiety. Your thoughts are spinning about all the whole day. You're like hovering over all the potential things.
Yeah.
You can do.
Yeah.
Say to yourself, I'm going to dedicate these first 5 minutes to saying, Jesus, I trust in you for 5 minutes straight. You're just going to repeat that mantra. You're going to picture our Lord Jesus, and you're going to say, Lord, I trust him. Lord, I trust him. Lord, I trust him. Literally.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go on through your day. And that's one commitment that God will pour into. And that's the faith of the mustard seed. It's like Mother Teresa, little things with great love.
Yeah.
It's like the little mustard seed in the deepest place will yield the most fruit.
So is there like a seed?
Yes.
You walked in something like that?
I think I'm walking through it like right now. That's why it's
Got it.
is because I also feel that at this time in my life, like to share a little bit more, I've just been working through things of my past that I struggle with, say like trauma or things like that I've never fully processed.
Yeah.
And then I'm also like I have a girlfriend now that I was going through a season where I broke up with a girl. It was really hard. I was confused and I felt detached and disconnected. And so I'm kind of leading into the season of trial by fire. It's like Dante's Inferno. It's that narrative structure. You have to go to hell before you can go to heaven. And if you think those two things can't coexist in the human experience, you know nothing about the complexity of a human person. It's like you can simultaneously be metaphorically in hell and in heaven.
Yes.
As long as like that, and that's what I've been trying to practice. Is like Lord, like I'm in the boat and I see you out in the water. And every time I look at you, I can walk on water. And I don't know why I can walk on water, but I don't even care. I can walk on water just because I want to get to you.
Yeah.
But when I look at the water, I sink. I sink because I take my eyes off the thing that's most important. So like, it's every time that I say that Jesus I trust him, that I look at the face of Christ in the depth, that I don't have to worry about the chaos. And so long as I have my eyes on his face, like St. Paul says, pray continually. It's not like a crazy mystical thing. It's like, no, like throughout your day, like just say, Jesus, I trust in you, and he will respond. He's more powerful. It's not about us reaching to heaven. It's about us putting our head in the heavens, right? So it's like, that's the thing that's got me through.
Yeah.
Is that I can say, Jesus, I trust him. Amidst the anxieties, amidst the difficulties, amidst the pain, amidst the suffering, I know he's with me. And that's an action of faith. I know he's with me because he tells me so. And he is who he says. So to keep that truth, like that's the one principle that carries you through seasons and transcends what seems like more universal, just pain, suffering, chaos, disorder, havoc. But if you can find that place of peace, you'll get through. You know?
That's good, man. And it's just so helpful to hear because I feel like I've been in more of the hell, but not honestly. Sitting there. And it's odd. Like I don't think I normally struggle with that. I feel like for the most part, even in difficult situations, like there's just like a lot of things I look back in the last 5 years, like when kind of reviewing my own family stuff and trauma and kind of going back and old wounds and dealing with stuff there, or I mean, me and you both know, like we sat through each other's, whether it be breakups or things falling through admission or just all these different aspects, like a lot of our struggles. And I've experienced like the depth of pain before, but it's just interesting in this season, like I was sharing kind of earlier, even before we got on, just like the instability I felt externally, like what's going on? I feel just like everything's shifting every day, and I was going, what this means or what it's on to. But it's interesting because like I'm not not spending time.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much like seeking after him, and if anything, my prayer is just like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, and it's earnest. Like my heart,
Yeah.
I'm like actually allowing my heart to cry out, man. I'm so frustrated with you right now. Bro. Like I'm so confused. Like I feel like you're showing me these huge things, and you just like you're pulling the rug out from under me, and I'm just like, dude, this sucks. Like, what the heck, man? And I know that's not the reality because I know that's not who he is. At least in here.
So can I identify and shape and kind of like map my experience with the suffering, pain, disconnection, like the almost like bordering despair, obviously not the sin of despair.
Yeah.
But he felt all of that. And so it could be like the readings today is a good father disciplines his child. And when you're a kid, you hate to be disciplined. Like, I don't want to be in the corner because I threw a toy at my sister.
Yeah.
It's painful to be in the corner, but it's a necessary part of maturation, is going through that stage. And so, likewise, it's a spiritual maturation of being able to go, of course, not suffering that you brought on yourself through sin, right? We're kind of ruling that out. But we're saying we're living a good life, Lord. We're trying to follow you. And I love you. And I know you love me, but I still feel this. That's what we're saying. That's where we're, right? To have the trust that maybe God is letting me in to what it was like for him to experience the cross or the agony or the bitterness or the faces of people that he created spitting upon him. And maybe that's a necessary part of my spiritual growth as a person. Can I tell myself that narrative? That's the thing. Like, can I change that narrative in my mind to see my suffering as that? It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of grace, but is it possible? For sure. And is it deception? No, not at all. Because that's the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone longing for like a deeper stability, like in a mental, spiritual sense, like not like an external, like like how do I have a good daily routine,
Right.
But like
Not like a positive signal.
no, not like something like someone who's like actually longing for like just a mental clarity, and not even necessarily clarity, because I think like clarity comes and goes, but like a peace of mind, soundness of mind.
Yeah.
What do you think is like a first step you should take?
So the first thing I want to say is pray for peace, but I actually want to pull that back. The first thing I want to say is accept the fact that you might not get peace even if you pray, and there might be peace there. So it's a reversal.
Huh.
It's kind of an interesting tactic.
Is that
It's not to say that you don't trust that God can't give you peace. It's to say that it might be likely that he's allowing this to happen, so I'm going to accept.
I was gonna say it seems acceptance.
Yeah, and so it seems like acceptance of the condition, but the acceptance of the temporal, existential, and metaphysical condition of your personhood is the first step. So accept the things that have happened to you in the past. Accept where you're possibly going in the future. Accept your handicaps and limitations, and accept your gifts. Accept your community. Like, genuinely sit in silence, and charismatics forget. Open your hands and accept them. Like, it's a gift. So just accept it. It's acceptance. It's acceptance. And it's not a verbal proclamation of I'm going to accept. It's something deeper within the heart of man that you have to find for yourself. It's like an inner yes. It's the Psalms talk about the inner.
Yes.
It's not the exterior. Hey, Michael, I accept this gift from you, but I don't feel like the connection of the gift that you give me.
How do you think that shifts though?
That's a
Or
good
do you
question.
think that's mysterious?
It is mysterious, but I think we can. We could probably find answers. I don't know, but I think my first intuition is silence is the first way to do it. Is a lot of us don't like ourselves, and a lot of our activities and our motivations and our emotions, maybe our joy, is an umbrella underneath a lot of sadness, pain, and suffering that we don't want to sit with. And so the first thing to do is sit down in silence and just be genuine. It's not even like you have to call out a prayer. You can pray. That's fine. But in your very being as a person, you're connected to the God whose existence itself. So can you sit down in your chair, just kind of sink into your body and just try to find a place of being? So your being is different from your having mode. Like when I have a water, when I have a drink, it's different from me just being. Like the goods of being, flower looking at the sunset, being even in a conversation, being with a friend, being in the presence of music, things like that. Lean into your being modes and then see what comes up in your heart when you're leaning into the being. And that's very pragmatic. Blaise Pascal says all of man's
the inability of
I love this quote.
Yeah.
I know exactly like
it's something like all of man's
problems come from
problems come from the man's inability to sit in a room quiet for 5 minutes.
No, it's like an hour for himself.
I think he said 5 minutes.
Did he
I
really?
think he says 5 minutes. That's how practical this guy is. And so that's another thing, a very practical thing you can do is 5 minutes today. I'm genuinely going to try to get away from the monkey brain and the rat race in my head. I'm just going to try to be. You see how difficult it is. It's very difficult. Very. So that's the first thing I'd say. And then things might start to unlock. And then obviously, keep doing the things that you think are good. And God will come to you genuinely. So,
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like on the last year of because we have to do our part, right? Like there's like that faith is will to action. Faith is a movement of the will. It's like I believe it's Dr. Pierce is that. Yeah, faith is a movement of the will. Faith is an act, and I love that. I heard that a few months ago. It's completely changed.
yeah.
The way I understand.
Why do you think that is? How do you think we regularly think about it?
Because right, you hear, oh, it's a theological virtue. Faith is a gift.
It's given.
It's given. So what you see is, oh, it just dawns upon
It
me,
falls upon you like rain.
and I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I have no access. It comes when it wants. I can't do anything. I can ask for it, but other than that. But this is what I love. Like I was talking to a couple friends earlier today about Elijah. Like talk about faith. Because I love it. It's like this is the scene. It's hilarious. He wanders off into the forest. He's like, all right, God, I'm the last prophet. I forget the king's name at the time. He's like killed all these prophets off. He's like, he's like, let me die. Like I just want to die. Like I'm tired. Like I'm over this. Like some guy. And an angel appears to him. He's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, here's some cake, drink some water, takes a nap, wakes up, here's some cake, drinks some water. And he's like, go on a 40-day journey. He walks up, like just enters the king's court that's been persecuting, killing all the prophets, has instituted false worship. And he looks at him, he's like, right, like we're gonna worship the true God. He's like, gather all your prophets together. We're gonna see who's God of Israel, who's God is who is real. And it's amazing, like there's a few things, right? Because I mean, not right, the classic scenes, like the hundreds of prophets of Baal versus him, and he's like, maybe he's going to the bathroom. There's a few things that happen there. Not only right has he walked in favor of God, like go confront the king that's killed all the prophets. They're also been in drought for years, and not only does he testing the other God, like showing with balls nothing. There's no one there. Right? There's no power there. He takes because there's a drought. The most precious resource, jugs and jugs of water, dousing thousands. And it's like, it's one man against all the people. Like this, I'm sure this is a public spectacle. It's like they sacrificed oxen, like they, it's like, it's a huge economic footprint. Like that's no joke. Slaughtering oxen for sacrifice, all these things. And it's like that's the shift I'm talking about. Faith is an act of the will. Like, yes, God spoke. Yes, God prayed. God said, go for it. Like, no, you're not going to die in the forest. Get out of here. There's something so fascinating about this, and I think it's such in the character of God. If he speaks, conviction falls, clarity comes, and then we wake up. And we know that happened, and we can't deny that. But then in a beautiful way, he kind of removes his handle.
Yeah. Because
that's the testing of faith. It's like, am I going to say, he spoke?
Yeah.
I have agency.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move. Right. And it's the beauty of Abraham. Go to a land I'm showing you.
Yeah.
Abraham's like, all right, just gonna start walking that way. That worked great. And he just goes. Right. And then me and you are here today because of that, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like we've now received the promise and the gift of the Holy Spirit because of Abraham's yes. Everything's coming through that. And that's what I mean. Because I think so often we don't think that. And I think it's rooted in the fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Because greatness demands something. You want to accomplish something great? Go look at any arena. Spiritual, athletic, financial, mission, impact, intellectual. The most exceptional people are exceptions for a reason.
Yeah.
They're an exception.
Yeah. Yeah.
They if you want to live a life that most people that most people don't live, you're going to have to live a life that most people don't live.
Sure.
And I think that's the difference of understanding faith as gift received, faith as like merely like intellectual, like, oh, I believe, versus faith being like something that pierces my heart, and transforms my actions.
Yes. That's good.
Yeah.
I got nothing more to add there.
Great.
That's beautiful.
Great. I guess maybe before we end, like I love being in the clouds, I love talking, I love ideas, thoughts. But it's like, how do we go forward? Right. And again, I think sometimes it can be dangerous. We don't need to be one of these like, all right, here's the next 2 years because of this one conversation. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think it happens. But what's something we need to do then?
Yeah, I think sitting in 5 minutes of silence, praying for 5 minutes that I trust in the Lord is very practical. Yeah. I also think this is another thing that I think about is practicing gratitude. Dr. Dahmer, professor here, philosophy professor here, wrote a paper against sloth, also known as Acadia. And he says that the title of the paper is Conquering Acadia Through Gratitude. Typically, in the virtues tradition, Acadia was conquered by manual labor. So it was doing other activities in which you are kind of running away from the spiritual good that you should go to, because that's what sloth is. It's defined as the resistance to the demands of love. Yeah, it's a good way to think. Yeah. So it's a resistance to the demands of love. And one way you could do that is, and what gratitude no longer does is it refocuses your attention on what God has given you and what's around you. And practical ways to practice gratitude and wonder is put yourself in the environment of wonderful things. So go look at a sunset, go walk in nature, listen to beautiful music pieces, just listen. And then journal about the things you're grateful for. And like genuinely grateful for. And then if you're not grateful, be grateful that you're not grateful and you're suffering, because you know that suffering will bring you longevity, bring you endurance, it'll bring you character. So like just be totally honest with what you're grateful for and what you're not grateful for. And then try to like do the reversal. It's acceptance. It's like I'm actually grateful for this too. And try to practice it. Like you have to practice gratitude and wonder. That's sort of our fallen human tradition. And then just for people who are genuinely struggling and feel very lost and feel like they don't have a grip, God trusts. Like seriously, He trusts them. He trusts in all of us. Like I know we continually preach like God, I trust in you, but God is looking down, like cheering all of us on. And He's not as condemning. He's not a tyrannical, scolding father. He's not a father that always demands obligatory action of the law. He's not a father that every time you make a mishap, he's gonna poke out your eye, or he's gonna take your arm off. He's gonna take real desires. He's a father that's genuinely always desiring to stoop very low, like a father's trying to stoop down the child who's falling on the floor. And that's the gaze that God has upon us. Like that's the view in which He sees us. And so that's like the practical thing is changing the narrative of how you see God the Father and genuinely see like God is love. And this is what concretely God being love looks like a father helping his son follow his bicycle. Like these types of things. Like He wants to shower us with His love. And so God trusts him. And like you're gonna make it through. So be encouraged by it. Yeah. That's all I would say.
I think mine would be journaling.
Yeah.
But in a particular way. I think we can get so often caught. I will do this. I will do this. And not that future thinking is bad at all, but it's intangible. There's a difference between a wish and a dream. Right? A wish is, I just want this. A dream, if you actually steward it, boils down to actionable steps and taking each day unto a bigger thing. And they're not always clear, they'll shift, etc.
Yeah.
But there's concrete action. And so one thing I adopted recently, it's like I'm already noticing how it's changing my framework of thinking. And right, all action first belief. Right. Or yes, it came up and belief. And I did mine like in a 6 month spurt, right? Looking at where do I want to be in 6 months from now? And I looked at all the different, categories of my life. So where do I want to be spiritually, intellectually, physically, my relationships, like the magazine up and that job, kind of what I'm starting to do with content creation, those sorts of things. And I just and write like where you want to be, yes, but write it in present tense.
Yeah, that's good.
And I actually found like just doing it once like shifted something in me.
Yeah.
Like I felt this change of it's a little bit more real and it's a little bit more actualized. Like I actually like even though it's like, no, those things haven't been accomplished yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not doing this yet. It's like, for some reason, literally together, it was like, it took me like 15, 20 minutes. I think to categories. For some reason, I was like, that seems more achievable. That seems more doable. And I feel like I'm actually kind of moving towards those things. Simply like just by
Yeah.
right, like
Pulling it in.
I am a person that
Yeah.
like I got it. I was trying to I'm trying to think one like I think intellectually the one I remember was like I have read 5 books that have been highlighted by grace, and I've read sections that I felt called to. I've implemented them into daily habits, like thought patterns and systems of thinking that have transformed how I live my life. I shared these with people as they are applicable to other people's lives so as to help them be changed too. And it's like, no, I actually haven't read 5 books and like Chris had them yet. Like, I haven't had changed habits, thought pattern systems. I haven't impacted people from my own change. But it's like in simply doing that, like I've already like even on that small example, like, I've already realized how I'm like starting to dialogue with the Lord, like paying attention to friends of okay, like what are books I want to be in? Like where do I want to be formed? Like what sectors? And it's crazy. It's like, what was the fruit? Where was that fruit from?
Yeah.
Simply taking 15 minutes a day. I am this
So very simple.
yeah, it's really
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Awesome, man.
So
It'd be a pleasure having you.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Goodbye, people.
That was awesome.
Woo-woo!